Hey guys, it is Tanya and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be showing you guys how I landscape in real time, what my thought process is, why I make the decisions I do, and how I go about each step of the process. I've been asked to do some more landscaping tutorials or just show you how I actually do it in a non-sped up version. So that's what we're doing here today. I hope it's helpful, so let's jump into it. This is a little house that I just built. It is a base game home. I will probably have it up on the channel sometime soon, but I figured we would do a step-by-step landscaping session here together. So the first thing I'm thinking with this house here, let me give you a little tour around it. The inside is not done at all. I just have an exterior. I always do the whole exterior in landscaping before I furnish. That's just personal preference. But the first thing I'm thinking is I have this little nook right here. And one thing I like to do with having a nook in a corner like this is I like to put trees over there. So for example, a narrow tree like that might look nice. However, I want to look through the debug menu and specifically the show live edit objects menu, which is where you're going to find plants from the world that you might not find in the regular catalog. For example, some of these plants over here are ones that you're not going to find in your regular plant category. They're not here. However, if you open up your cheat bar, which is Control-Shift-C, you can type in bb.showHiddenObjects and then click enter. And if you also type in bb.showliveeditobjects and click enter, you're going to be able to access those. And of course, you're not seeing them down below. What you're going to have to do is go over here to this search bar, type in debug, and just select any of these. I only have base game installed, so this is just going to show you what is in the base game. So everyone should have access to these items, from anything from cars, which are not functional, to various plants you might not have seen before. And it's a really cool place to get some nice landscaping items. You're going to definitely see some items that you're like, oh, we have this in the regular category. Correct. This is in the landscaping area, but this one is free. And it has a couple of swatches as well. I'm filtering through the swatches on this by pressing the plus and minus key on the number pad of my keyboard. Anyway, back into debug. I am thinking that maybe a bush like this, if I scale it up, I can do that with the open and close bracket keys. Maybe something like this could be nice here, except that kind of blocks that whole doorway. But I am thinking a taller, narrower tree might look nice over there. So that's what I'm going to look for. This is one of our options. I do like this one. It's a little bit unkempt, which is kind of fun, but I'm not sure if that's the one I want. There's also this tall tree, which I really do enjoy, and then a shorter version of it, which I'm kind of thinking might be the vibe for this house. So let me see how I think this looks in this corner. Also going to try scaling it down. I think that might be a good fit over here, but that doesn't mean we're not going to use these other ones. I think this smaller one or this more narrow one might look nice, like tucked in either right there or on the other side. Basically, when you have little nooks, I think it's fun to try and see if you can work some landscaping into that space. I just think it makes it look a little bit more exciting, more natural, and this is just me speaking on what I'm thinking about this particular house. There is no correct or incorrect way to go ahead and landscape something. So I'm just going to look through some of these bushes. I'm thinking maybe we could do something a little bit more simple for this lot, but I do want to do some terrain paint and probably like a little walkway up to this house. I'm considering maybe we should use the same brick that we have going up. So I'm just going to grab that tile and extend it to the edge of the lot. I don't think we're going to need that off of this staircase, but I do think I'm going to extend a little bit of a back porch area out here. I think it might also be a good idea to have some sort of fence out here to block off the backyard to make it a little bit more private. So I'm going to do that right now. I'm going to use this. Also, this is a good tip. Good thing I did that. If you drag a fence off of foundation, it is going to be on foundation. However, if you want it to be on the ground but connect to the foundation, you have to start away from it. So that's what we're going to do here. And I'm just going to extend this fence out and connect it like so. I'm not sure if this is the exact shape I want to go for. Actually, looking from the front, I think it looks a little odd, and I might enjoy if it came out a little bit further, at least for part of the backyard space. So that's what I'm going to do for right now, and we'll see what we think. Do I want it to be like that? So if I have this little bump out in the back, I think that would be a good spot. I'm just going to move that tree real quick and we're going to go back into the debug catalog here. I think that might be a good spot to put a larger tree. So I'm going to look through and see what we have. You can go through the regular catalog as well. I just tend to prefer these plants and I wanted to make sure I showed you how to access them, but you could definitely grab a tree from the regular landscaping catalog. This tree is a little bit big, but it is really pretty. So I might use this one back here, and that fills in that space and makes the fence make a little bit more sense. We're gonna grab a gate for the fence. Unfortunately, there isn't a plain white one, which is very frustrating. So we're either gonna have to have one that mismatches in color, or we're gonna have one that's not the same style. I think for this one, I'm either going to go with this fancier gate because I feel like it just mimics the style of some of the other details we have, or you could go for a more modern one like one of these ones. All right, I think that's looking pretty good. I am gonna get rid of this tree for right now, and I'm gonna go into my terrain paint category down here, and I'm thinking I wanna frame out an area for some plants. So if you go down to your dirt areas, you have a lot of different dirts to choose from. I think I'm gonna click this darker one here, the Smarter Starter Soil. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make it so it's softer so that it's not such an abrupt edge. So the harder the edge is, the more abrupt it is. As you can see, there's some ledges here that don't look so good. But if you make it softer, that is a little bit more eased in and looks a little bit more natural in my opinion. So I'm gonna do that, and then I'm gonna make the brush a little bit smaller, I think. Actually, I will keep it the same size. And I'm just gonna kind of draw out an area I think would look nice to have some plants in. I try to make these look a little bit more organic. I think it looks nice that way. So we're gonna have just a chunk over here. And then I think I might also do just a bit over here. And I think having it a little bit asymmetrical here would look nice. I'm also just not a fan of symmetry, so I like doing things like this. I am going to fix that a little bit though, because I'm not a huge fan of how it's looking. I like the idea, but I don't think it's quite where I want it to be yet. So I'm kind of thinking maybe this does need to come back like this, like the other side does, where it's more narrow like that, but I don't want them to actually be symmetrical. So maybe this one will come around the side a little bit and go like this. And that's just planning where I'm thinking I might put some plants. So before we do that, I also want to grab a terrain paint. One of my favorites is this Cobbled Together. It's these really cute little rocks. And what we're going to do with that is we're going to draw a pathway from this gate to the front space and also to this little staircase as well. So let's start over here and kind of draw a little pathway right here connecting these spaces. And then another one this way as well. And I'm gonna try and mimic a little bit, not entirely, but a little bit of where this dirt path is to make it look organic, but also purposeful. So we're gonna bring it over like so. And you kind of have this sweeping pathway around. I'm going to also connect it into the back over to this pathway. And back here, you might want to also add some of this same terrain paint you had for the dirt. So I'm just going to grab a little section over here so that we have a spot to do some more landscaping, and we'll probably add some more back there. Now I'm going to keep on this dirt pattern, and I'm going to have it somewhat large, take down the opacity or the softness just a little bit, and I'm gonna run over very quickly over this pathway just to make it a little bit darker, but I don't want it to be just completely coated in dirt. I just think it looks a little bit more natural that way. Sometimes it's also nice to use these flowers that are like a grass texture just to add a little bit of color to your grassy area. So I'm just gonna plop a little bit of this around the space just to give a little bit more life to our grass. And now it is time to do some more landscaping. One of my favorite plants, and I've been using this for a while, is this low-lying pale yellow flowers. There's a bunch of versions of these in the debug menu as well, but I'm just going to grab a couple of these and place them down. I'm placing them by holding down shift while I place, and I'm moving it freely like this by holding down the alt button. So if I hold down alt and shift, I can rotate in place as I'd like, but I automatically have another one attached to my mouse for me to place again. So I'm just going to grab a few of these, and then we're going to go into the debug catalog again to look at the show live edit objects things that we unlocked, and grab one of my favorite bushes. This is such a pretty bush. I am scaling it down using the open bracket key, and I just think it looks so nice. So I'm gonna place that right there. I'm also going to grab another one, scale that down twice, and place it a little bit further back. One of my recent favorite finds in Debug is actually a version of this low-lying plant, except it's blue. And slightly larger, and it has two swatches. So you have this darker green and then you have this lighter green. And I think that these might look nice kind of put in here mixed with the yellow ones. I'm also thinking I might get this little guy and put him over here in a darker swatch to line that staircase. I went ahead and landscaped the other side of the house and a little bit in the back as well. And I was just thinking maybe I should add some rocks in here because it's just a little overwhelmingly green, and I think it makes things look a little bit more natural if you place some rocks down. So we do have a rock category in landscaping. There's 5 different rocks to choose from in here, which is honestly not that many. There are more in Debug, but for the purposes of this, I think I want to use some of the ones that are just in the regular catalog. So I'm just going around and placing some of these in spaces that I think look a little bit more empty, and I just think it helps fill out the space a little bit better. I also think we need a tree in the front. There's some trees in the neighborhood around here. We have a big one out back. We have a couple of these small narrow ones in the front, and then there's these 2 on the streets. But I feel like around here somewhere we need a tree, and honestly this one's not too bad. This is one of my favorite base game trees, and that is an option. But I want to talk about not being afraid to use bigger trees in the front or anywhere on your property anyway. So this one I think is a little bit too big because it's too wide. I don't think it's too tall for this area though. I'm going to shrink it down and see if I think it could work over here or not. I'm not sure if that's exactly what I want to go for, but honestly that's not bad. I like when trees cover the front of the build a little bit. I think that's pretty realistic to real life. You just have this cozy house tucked away behind the trees, and that's kind of cute. I don't know if you guys like it or not, but I do enjoy doing that, so I think I might have to go for it. You're just going to want to make sure you pop inside your house and make sure it's not clipping in. In this case, it is a little bit, so we're just going to scooch that out just a tad bit. One thing I really like to do with trees is I like to add some terrain paint below them and also some flowers. So I tend to add this low-lying bush underneath the trees. I just think it makes it look a little bit more natural, and then we're going to get some dirt as well. Have that on a lower opacity. Actually, I'm also going to do some dirt around this pathway, and I wouldn't mind having some sort of bushes right under this window over here. I think we might get one from the regular catalog and just place this in this area. It fits absolutely perfectly, and then fills that in, so there is some landscaping there. I'm going to darken the terrain paint over here. It feels a little bit too light. Out back, we don't have a ton going on. We just have our pathway to our deck space, and then we have a lot of yard to work with. This all depends on what things you want your Sims to have in their backyard and how you want to landscape it. You can do some more natural pathways and landscaped areas by just kind of doing like swoops of dirt and then filling that in like we did in the front. That might be a good area to do something like that. I also might delete some of this space here, and if you click Control F on your keyboard, you can get these quarter tiles, and if you do something like this, it looks less awkward with a walkway right there. So I think I might do that, and we can fill that in with some landscaping, and then I might grab a couple of smaller trees to put over on this side of the property. Maybe this tree that we were looking at before for out front. Maybe also this narrow tree over in this corner. Actually, I'm not sure if I like that one there, but I think it could work on the other side. I think that looks a little bit less awkward because it's supported by this flat side of the house, whereas we place it over here, it's just kind of sticking up in the middle instead of being against a structure. So I think it looks better over on that side. Another thing you can do is similar to what we did over on the side of the build, and you can kind of align the fences with these bushes. So I'm actually going to do a little bit of that here. You can overlap them, add some dirt under them. It's also really nice to add some of these low-lying flowers under them sometimes. And this works for some really structured landscaping as well. So you could grab maybe one of these little fences, and if you just sort of draw out an area for them to go, you can make this look a little bit more structured. So let me move these out of the way so I can show you what I mean. Just make sure when you're doing stuff like that, I'm going to move these over into this dirt patch, that you make sure you get some dirt under them, because it looks so much more realistic in my opinion when there is terrain paint under things. So we're gonna do that, and I think that looks really nice. And honestly, because we did that, you could probably extend this over into this space, and we're gonna just do it across like this. So that could be a nice space for your Sims to like relax and eat maybe, and there's just still some greenery there, even though most of this back area is covered in this brick. Another place that could probably look good for more structured planters would be over here on this side of the steps. This fits perfectly there. And lastly, we are going to add some terrain paint under this. I think I'm also going to do a little bit of dirt terrain paint around the edges of this tile, just because it looks a little bit more natural that way. A lot of the debug trees will disappear if you get too close to them, so you're probably going to want to do the terrain paint from a little further away. All right, I think that looks pretty good for back here. We have some dirt coming out from underneath, not too much extra, but I want to add a little bit more there. So out back, we have lots of landscaping going on, a place for your Sims to actually have some outdoor activities. There are trees all around. Let's get some dirt under that one. Over on the side, you have a nice walkway to the front, some more plants, a tree out front, trees on the side. I'm going to just do a little bit of extra here because this space didn't get too much love. But I think that worked out pretty nicely, just grabbing some last terrain paint. And I think that's pretty much all I'm going to do for landscaping for this house. I would definitely recommend going into this debug catalog and scrolling through and checking out some of the different things you could add to your builds. There's some really cool stuff in here, and it'll really help to spice up your builds and add some extra cool things. I think that's pretty much it for this sort of tutorial. I just wanted to sort of walk through my process and how I do things and what I'm thinking in the moment on how to landscape a build. Hopefully this was helpful for you guys. If it was, please let me know, and then anything else you would like to see as well, and hopefully I can get those videos out to you soon. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you all soon. Bye everybody.